Hello, everybody. So on April 17th, we will be having a new moon in the sign of Aries. And in fact, there's a lot going on in Aries astrologically this period of time. There's a whole stellium of planets that are taking place, including the sun and the moon. So there's Mars, Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune that are taking place in the sign of Aries. And with that much energy concentrated in this fire sign, the first sign of the zodiac, there is this intense energy of renewal, new beginnings. And also, in light of everything that's going on in the world, a kind of heat and explosiveness in addition to things being, full steam ahead. So I thought I would take this opportunity to check in with the cards and see what we might be able to expect going on out in the world, in terms of this energy coalescing. So I'm just going to ask for insider guidance around what would be most helpful for us to know about this time and how to work with these energies skillfully. So I'm going to go silent. I'm going to concentrate while I shuffle. I'm just going to say a prayer over these cards. Hmm. 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 Wow. So there's a lot of cup energy in this pull, which is interesting. Cups are the suit of love and emotions and intuition. And typically they are associated with the element of water. They're a relational kind of archetype. And really what's coming up here is that, I mean, if you th think of the tarot as being a kind of map for how we might bring greater balance into our own lives, I think that what is being said here is that a great way to balance that fiery, forceful, directed energy is to really bring in an orientation towards the heart. Like, how can we ground our action in compassion? How can we stay connected to our feelings and allow our emotions to temper some of those more passionate or compulsive actions? And in order to do that, we actually have to come into greater awareness of what our feelings are. And the best way to do that is to be able to track them somatically in the body. How do you know that you feel a certain way? It's not a thinking, it's a feeling. There's a sensation that's connected to emotions that live in the body. So anxiety might be felt as a shallow breathing, an elevated heart rate, a kind of tightness or constriction in the chest. Sadness might feel like a heaviness that weighs the body down, a sense of slow moving or sluggish energy. Excitement might feel like buoyancy, a kind of hyper clarity to things, an effervescent sort of flowing sensation. So you see that emotions live in the body. And so, in order for us to be able to attune to others and see what might be needed in any given situation, we first have to check in and see what's going on inside of ourselves, as within, so without. It's not necessarily to say that everyone's going to feel the way that you do, but we can get subtle clues about what's going on inside someone else by tracking sensations in our own body. Emotions are information, and that information can be helpful to guide our actions. So here we have the Seven of Cups, and the Seven of Cups is what I call emotional vagary. So you can see that's sort of like all these different symbols, all these different possibilities floating around in the fog. It's being in confusion or delusion around how you feel about something. And oftentimes, this energy comes up in readings when we're afraid that we're not going to get what we want or we're going to lose what we have. You can think of this sort of fogginess as a self-protective measure, this sort of confusion that makes it hard for us to know exactly how we feel or what we want when the threat of something not happening the way that we would want or losing something that is meaningful, it causes us to stay in that state of confusion. So the Seven of Cups is really asking us to be more honest with ourselves, to check in and feel into what's going on inside of ourselves. Where is it that we are meeting with disappointment or the fear of loss? Where has that eclipsed our ability to tune into what feels good, feels connective, what feels like an authentic expression of our desire? Because this is really important. The universe cannot conspire to bring you your heart's desire until you are willing to claim it, until you're willing to say, I have a vision for the world, and this is what I would like it to look like and feel like. And I can see it so clearly. And therefore, I know what to work towards. I know which people to orient myself towards. I have a much more defined picture of how I might set about taking the steps to achieve this kind of end. These are all things that are necessary for us to get clear about what we feel and what we want, and even what the blocks might be that are impeding our ability to take right action out in the world. Because the Five of Cups is really an indicator that it is easy to grieve in times of loss. In fact, it's expected. I don't think it's possible to love anyone or anything and experience its loss without connecting to that deep sense of grief. But what the Five of Cups wants to remind us is that even as we are experiencing that sadness of loss, we have to stay open to love and connection, because these two things are not mutually exclusive. So, in a world where we're seeing so much corruption, so much violence lobbied at our friends and neighbors, we can't lose hope or lose heart. We have to turn our attention towards the people in our communities who feel rightly aligned. And again, to have the resiliency to continue to dream for a better world and to really feel into what it would be like to have that. And what might that look and feel like? It looks and feels like the Ten of Cups. This is a representation of healthy family, a family that experiences joy in the presence of one another. People who come together and celebrate each other. This experience of play and connectivity that brings about this experience of pure joy within relationships. This is of the utmost importance. We have to open ourselves up to love and connection and play in order to vision a world where that's even possible. And then we can begin to take steps to make that vision a reality in the material world. That is really what the Knight of Pentacles is all about. It's slow and steady wins the race. It is taking into account what the next right indicated step might be to move us closer to a reality where everyone feels emotionally supported and materially supported, right? That's really what Pentacles represent. It's the physical, tangible ways that we meet our needs in the world. So the Knight of Pentacles is saying we're going to consistently show up and put effort towards this to materialize this wealth and well-being, which is the birthright of all of us. So what would it look like to live in a world where there was enough for everyone, where every single being on the planet had what they needed in order to thrive? Not just a few people, but everyone, including the ecosystems, right? All the animals, all the plants, all the freshwater systems, oceans. What if every living being had enough to get their needs met? Aces are like the highest octave of an energy. So this idea that like it's an ideal. If we are to work towards an ideal, what steps do we need to take in order to move us closer to it? And in fact, this can be a joyful experience when we come together in order to facilitate this vision. It can be like being in the celebration of life when we are connected to like-minded others who also wish to facilitate this kind of emotional and physical support of one another. And the star is really finding your divine place in the universe. So it is being clear-minded in our approach to authenticity, to what we contribute to the world that makes the world a better place. It's clearing the channel of all limiting self-beliefs so that we can be this clear conduit for spirit. So that everything we do in the material realm is imbued with this higher sense of purpose. And so it's this thing like, how can we rise above the pain and the, devastation of the losses that we're seeing every day in our world? And how can we be pure of heart and hold true to our mission to create a better world? And then I love to see this. I often consider the Nine of Cups to be kind of the antidote to the Seven of Cups. Because if this is asking us to vision what we would ideally like to experience relationally, emotionally in the world, the Nine of Cups is what it looks like to get it. The Nine of Cups is like winning the tarot lotto. It's saying dare to dream big, because anything our heart desires can and will be made manifest. That this dream of a world that feels like family is not beyond our reach. It is possible so long as we're willing to put in that steady and consistent effort. And we are in alignment with spirit. So, it's an interesting pull, not necessarily what I would have expected from having all those planets in the sign of Aries, but it is certainly a beautiful vision to want to work towards, to this sense of renewal, I think, is very much playing out in this collection of images. So, as always, I am wishing you all many blessings on this new moon. And let's hold a collective dream for a world of plenty for all. Take care.